Hello and welcome to my presentation on the 200 million cat bond sponsored by Allianz and issued by Bluefin Limited. The cat bond was launched in 2007 over a 4.5 year period. The purpose of the bond was to protect against windstorm risk in 7 European countries. The cat bond wasn't triggered, allowing the investors to receive the annual coupon rate along with the principal back. The normal cat bond structure involves four parties. One, the entity that has initiated the risk transfer known as the cedent, Allianz SE in this case. Two, the capital market, which assumes the risks, i.e. the investors. We can take a look at the different percentages. And the special purpose vehicle, Bluefin Limited. And also there's a trust investing the principal amount from the bond into a risk-free asset. The securities issued by Bluefin Limited were denominated in US dollars and euros and offered investors a coupon of 4.40% and 4.55% over the applicable reference rates LIBOR and Euribor. The inclusion of the US dollar tranche was intended to offer the conventional US dollar orientated cat bond investor basic currency alternative, although Allianz pursued the objective to place as much of the capacity as possible in euros to minimize the currency exposure. The deal saw 200 million of notes issued in two tranches, 155 million of Class A notes and 45 million of Class B notes. The SPV Bluefin eliminates the credit risk that traditional reinsurers experience since the money is fully paid up in advance and ready available should a loss occur. Payouts from this specific cat bond were reliant on a parametric trigger based on wind speed at various locations, measured directly from anemometers managed by meteorological offices of the nations in the covered areas. A parametric index was chosen in response to investor preference, as it offers maximum objectivity and transparency due to resolution of losses and the danger of muzzle hazard is low. An indemnity trigger due to the acquired protection would give Allianz SC an incentive to relax its underwriting and claims handling standards to the detriment of the investors. Allianz felt comfortable that a parametric index would be suitable and could be designed at acceptable levels of basis risk. Basis risk refers to the potential that the trigger index, i.e. wind speed in this case, does not perfectly correlate with the underlying risk exposure, resulting in a situation where these countries may suffer a loss but do not receive payment. This has become prevalent as some investors decline to allocate capital to parametric triggers over fears that the trigger may not cause a major insurance industry loss. A recent example of this is Penn Union RE Limited in 2015, where investors within the ILS space declined to allocate capital as a result. The trigger relies on RMS Europe wind speed risk link version 7.0 that is also applied by Allianz for internal risk modeling purposes. Underwriting and the model. Underwriters have to rely on formulas to calculate probable maximum loss or estimates based on a mixture of guesswork and calculation. The first credible cat model was introduced in 1987 by Applied Insurance Research. However, it took a while for it to be adopted. There is also evidence to suggest that underwriters will charge higher premiums for risks where the premiums are ambiguous or uncertain. The primary purpose of these models is to create an accurate picture of potential loss and give insurers the tool they need to consider when choosing an alternative strategy for managing the risk. Allianz SC, the sponsor in this case, it is within their best interest to provide the most accurate exposure of information on the basis that the analysis has good correlation between the model and the actual exposure, which will reduce the bond's basis risk. Within this specific cat bond, the parametric trigger makes it more transparent for payout. However, with an indemnity trigger, underwriting practices, contractual condition, and quality of risks play a more significant role. These catastrophe models also develop underwriting guidelines through exposure management, development of mitigation strategies, and reserving and rate making. Arguments have been made that while cat bonds exhibit some hedging properties, they rarely meet the perfect conditions that make them a perfect hedge against underwriting losses. There are suggestions that issuers only securitize remote catastrophic risks. Akerlof et al. Illustrates this by pointing out the fact that returns for investors in cat bonds have increased steadily despite highly volatile and generally increasing catastrophic losses, as we can take a look at the graph here on the right. The sponsor receives a premium from the cedent, thus the determination of this premium is of high significance for the price of a cat bond. The premium includes an expected value of loss, plus a load for risk margin and expenses. El Galati et al. investigates the application of different premium models rated by S&P during the period of 1999 to 2006. Therefore, we find these findings significantly relevant to this presentation. The parametric trigger has a decreasing effect on pricing, please see yellow, compared to the indemnity trigger, Y. The case of this cat bond per European windstorms, the results indicate a negative effect on the premium, which implies the investors demand a smaller risk load, see yellow. This is attributable to the fact that most severe losses were caused by hurricanes. In conclusion, we have established that the optimal goal for the issuer of a cat bond is minimal basis risk, reduced moral hazard, broad coverage, competitive pricing, and no counterparty credit risk. There are a number of factors at play when structuring a cat bond in relation to the trigger, the underwriting considerations, the model, and the investor, which make this objective difficult. Thank you for listening.